Have you ever felt like you're somehow too much and not enough all at the same time? You're not alone. Who are you when you're not performing, trying to impress or prove your worth? This new moon and total solar eclipse in Leo is inviting you to find out. Now that the most recent Mercury retrograde post-shadow period has ended and the lunar nodes have firmly shifted into Aquarius and Leo, the sun is moving forward into the new lessons of Virgo season. This transit is giving us an opportunity to translate these lessons into something grounded and sustainable. What is up, my witches? Welcome to the Queer Soul Alchemy podcast, a supportive community helping queer folks to embrace their authentic selves by exploring yoga, astrology, and spirituality. I'm your host, Lee Davey. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host and favorite queer envy priestess, Lee Davey, your spiritual alchemy doula, your bisexual degenerate, your dad on vacation, if your dad was a pagan astrophile. And in this episode, we're diving into the astrological symbolism of the new moon in Leo, the energetic shift of the sun from Leo into Virgo season, and the shift of the lunar nodes in Leo and Aquarius, setting the vibe for the next year and a half. But first, new episodes of this podcast drop every Wednesday, posted to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Wherever you're listening from, please make an offering to the algorithm overlords and help our fellow queer mystics find their people by leaving a like, a comment, and a nice little 5-star review. And if you're currently listening on Apple Podcasts, please make sure you're subscribed because according to our analytics, almost half of y'all listen on Apple Podcasts, but that's actually the platform where we have the least amount of subscribers. So please double check. You might think that you're already following us, but you're actually not. So whatever platform, subscribing and following the podcast is the best free way to support us. Don't miss out on exclusive access to my free self-care resource guide, which I've specifically curated for you to support your journey with spirituality. To download this guide and be the first to know about upcoming queer yoga retreats and events, please sign up for our email newsletter at youareloved.one/pod. Want to request a topic or share your story? You can do so anytime at the same link on our website, which will also always be linked in the show notes for you guys, and tell me your story for a chance to be featured on the podcast. Because your story matters, and sharing our stories builds community and helps us feel less alone. And we could all use some of that, right? All right, y'all, let's dive in. Is Mercury in the microwave again? So we are closing out Leo season with a new moon and total solar eclipse, setting the vibe for the next year and a half. Eclipses are already lunations on steroids, you guys, but this one is especially notable because it marks the first in a series of eclipses in the signs of Leo and Aquarius, now that those lunar nodes have shifted. So this is a massive rebirth, massive letting go. And Mercury is not in the microwave. As we discussed last astrology episode, Mercury is now direct, and we're just about wrapping up the post-retrograde shadow period from the most recent Mercury retrograde in Cancer. This transit has offered us an important time of reflection and integration, as all retrogrades do, in whatever area of your chart is ruled by Cancer. For me, it's my sun sign and also my 9th house. So this has been a lot for me about my identity, beliefs, how I show up in the world, and how I believe in myself or don't believe in myself, and the story that I tell myself. I also have my moon and Mercury both in the sign of Leo in my 10th house, which has to do with career, legacy, and reputation. So I'll be honest, y'all, this lunation has been pretty rough for me. The new moon in Leo is happening as I film this, August 12th, and it represents an ego identity death and moving forward toward the collective in rebirth. Leo season ends on August 22nd, so I'm seeing this lunation as a culmination of really the entire summer so far. Something that initially came up around the summer solstice, which was on June 21st, may have been bubbling or even festering below the surface of conscious awareness for the past few months. So whatever area of your life and chart where this is affecting you, the Mercury retrograde themes may have offered an opportunity to heal and work through some of this, or it may have simply intensified it. So you guys, a new moon happens when the Earth completely blocks out the light of the sun from reaching the moon. So the moon appears dark. And solar eclipses happen when the moon blocks out the sun's light from reaching the Earth. So it creates a dark spot over the sun. So put those two things together, new moon solar eclipses represent especially potent time periods where key information is either purposefully hidden or just simply goes unseen. As if that weren't enough, this particular lunation is also conjunct the South Node, which suggests an opportunity for potent karmic healing of deep, deep core wounding, both from the past of this present lifetime and previous lifetimes altogether. So if you feel like you're carrying like a heavy collective weight and it's weighing on your identity and it's weighing on your soul, but you can't necessarily pinpoint the source of that pain from this lifetime, you may be working through karmic energy from past lifetimes. The sun represents the light of our conscious awareness of our identity. Leo is the fixed fire sign, represented by the regal lion and ruled by the sun, source of light and vitality and life force for all of Earth. Leo is also the only sign that's ruled by a star as opposed to a planetary body, which understandably gives Leo its main character energy. But as the new moon and the solar eclipse shows us, wherever the sun shines, it casts a shadow. And that shadow is what this lunation is pointing out. In astrology, Leo is the heart-centered leader, warm, bold, expressive, and maybe thinks it's the center of the universe a little bit. But in its defense, the sun is the center of our solar system. Leos radiate presence and power. They're natural performers, captivating storytellers, and they're often called to a teacher's or leader's path. Their confidence can feel contagious, uplifting and inspiring others to trust their own instincts and step more fully into their personal authenticity. When a Leo's emotional needs are met, they can provide their loved ones with an incredible, deep sense of devotion, admiration, and loyalty. They know they shine and they want to see you shine too. But because this is a new moon and total solar eclipse, you guys, we need to really focus on that shadow. This episode is about focusing on the shadow aspects of Leo energy that are coming up to be examined by the collective. So of course, we all love the sun. When the sun comes out, we are filled with life and energy, right? And it lifts our spirits. But something that is uncomfortable to even think about is the fact that the sun is going to burn out someday. The sun is a star. Stars have a finite source of energy. So what happens if the sun burns out? Performers and entertainers that they are, Leos tend to crave external validation, recognition, and admiration. And at times, their natural confidence can be perceived as overbearing or self-absorbed. Yes, of course, Leos have insecurities, just like everyone else. They may just hide them better than others under a performative exterior, which can be confusing. When the fuel of praise feels scarce, insecurity or feeling underappreciated can cause the lion to roar. Tempers can flare as a protective shield over vulnerability, and a Leo's pride can keep them hiding their wounded ego behind this anger. Now, Leo as an archetype is known for having a well-developed ego, but any ego that is overly inflated without being regularly checked can therefore be prone to feeling slighted more often and projecting their fears and insecurities onto others. So if Leo's shadow side leads it to become addicted to that external validation, then applause can become a substitute for cultivating true self-worth within themselves. It's an inside job. So if that external validation is being used as a substitute, it's an unreliable substitute at best, right? So when the room is quiet, when that validation isn't readily available, that's when insecurity creeps in and causes issues. But it's really such a fine line, right? With all of the signs, the medicine and healing lies in balancing out Leo energy. In queer spirituality, Leo is sacred pride. It's so important for us to have that pride in our identities as an oppressed group. So Leo energy is the audacity to take up space, be visible, and intentionally stand out rather than fitting in. It's the ability to say, hey, this is who I am, and boldly express yourself without shrinking. And for many LGBTQ plus people, such visibility may have been risky. Many of us have been told that we're too much. Or in our futile attempts to mold ourselves to fit straight culture, we may feel that no matter what we do or how hard we try, we are still never enough. The lesson of Leo energy is that the light comes from the sun, not anywhere else. We can praise and worship the sun all day. But at the end of the day, if the sun still doesn't realize that the light literally comes from within itself, no amount of external validation will ever be enough. Or if it is satisfying, that satisfaction is fleeting and temporary. So the reason that Leo is prone to projection is because that is literally the sun's job. Think about it. The sun projects light all over our universe. It's our sun, our star. So if our sun stops shining, there would be nothing but darkness reflecting back to it. If the sun were to, for example, shine in a transactional way, like I will rise and shine tomorrow, but only if you give me enough recognition today, then that transactional nature is what's going to be reflected back to it. If it shines in a loving, selfless way, then that love and selflessness will be reflected as well. Leo represents the journey of the self through the self, developing the ego and the identity. Therefore, Leo energy needs to realize that because of its nature, whatever it puts out will be reflected back. At a high vibration, Leo embodies heart-centered leadership and empowers others by modeling courage. Leo is a natural leader. They're the one that tends to say, yeah, I'll do the scary thing first. I'll put myself out there and give everybody who was too afraid before permission to do their own thing too. But the challenge for Leo is how they react if they fail at the scary thing, or if them doing the scary thing isn't well received or just not given the recognition that they maybe are expecting. So at a low vibration, a Leo's insecurity can morph into elitism, control, constant performance in order to maintain approval. And out of fear of judgment or being ignored, a performative Leo may lose the very authenticity that others adore. Or Leo may become punishing, tearing down those who it once built up as a way to take revenge for a perceived slight. As a fixed sign, Leo can be stubborn, and it can mistake its own misperceptions for the absolute and only truth, when in reality, truth has been distorted through the lens of a bruised ego. The growth edge for Leo is allowing for vulnerability and expression, but without losing its dignity to the clutches of pride. True power does not rely on domination, but it's anchored in self-worth and respectfulness. So this new moon and total solar eclipse in Leo asks, can you offer that validation to yourself? If no one were watching, what would you still create? What would you still love to do even if no one ever approved? And can you give that approval to yourself? Can you find the light within? If you have any major Leo placements, you more than likely have a huge heart, maybe a kind of big ego too, which does not necessarily have to be bad, right? Ego is simply our sense of self and identity. But like I said, an unchecked ego, that's what can cause harm. If Leo is your sun sign, your identity likely centers around expression, creativity, and being seen for who you truly are. If Leo is your moon sign, your emotional security comes from gratitude, heartfelt connection, and feeling valued. If Leo is your rising sign, you come off as charismatic and confident even when you're privately managing self-doubt. And you probably also have great hair, like a lion's mane. If Leo is your Venus sign, you need words of affirmation to feel loved. You fall for partners who deeply admire or even worship you. And when your relationship feels insecure, you may struggle with possessiveness or control. If Leo is your Mars sign, you show love through devotion, admiration, and gift giving. You are highly generous and loyal to a fault, which may result in an all or nothing attitude in relationships. And your temper may get the best of you at times. So reflect, you guys. Where am I relying too much on external validation instead of internally offering that approval to myself? Am I shrinking out of fear of being too much? Or am I actually being overbearing and I need to consider the preferences and perspectives of others more? Am I refusing to show up for fear of being not enough? Or do I just need to get over myself? Leo reminds us that pride at its healthiest is embodied self-respect. You are allowed to shine and you're allowed to want to be celebrated. Just let your heart lead, not your ego, and try to remember that there are always multiple interpretations of any situation. All right, y'all, moving on to the transit of the sun from Leo into Virgo. This is happening on August 22nd, and we're going to take a really deep dive into Virgo energy on the next astrology episode, so I won't spend too much time on it today, but I just wanted to bring in a little bit of this Virgo energy because I think it brings a lot of medicine for the Leo vibes. Virgo season lasts from August 23rd to September 22nd and is the archetype of the Virgin. So in a sense of purity, right? The humble servant, the hermit in the tarot. Basically, this energy is the opposite of Leo in a lot of ways. Where Leo wants to be seen and wants to be recognized, Virgo almost bristles at that and does not want to be the center of attention at all. Virgo is the mutable earth sign, ruled by Mercury, planet of analysis, technology, transportation, and communication. And Virgo also rules the 6th house of day-to-day routines, work, and physical body. In astrology, Virgo represents that day-to-day unglamorous labor that eventually, hopefully, results in harvesting the fruits of our labor, but it's more about the labor itself than the fruit. So when I think about Virgo energy, I think of the archetype of Hanuman, who is touted as the perfect servant in Hindu mythology. And he serves Lord Ram and Lord Ram's consort, Sita. Hanuman's sole focus and aim was to be of service to his masters. He was not concerned at all with recognition. Hanuman represents karma yoga, or the yoga of action, which operates under the philosophy that the means are just as, if not more, important than the ends. That is, Hanuman did not serve his masters out of obligation or force, but out of choice and genuine desire. He didn't do it to gain something, but rather the gaining something came from doing the action itself. So right action plus releasing the attachment to any specific outcome is karma yoga. Virgo asks, what truly matters? It notices the small details that others may overlook, and it sees the cracks in the foundation where systems are inefficient or where something could be improved with unselfish love and care. Virgo reminds us that healing isn't always pretty or glamorous or linear, right? It's an ongoing, unflashy process of gently attending to trauma day after day, and some days are harder than others. It's noticing where we're overextending, where we need to recalibrate. It's organizing your apartment and your inner world after spending too long in a place of chaos. At its highest vibration, Virgo is devotion in action. It's discernment without judgment. It's tending to your life and responsibilities with care, not expectation. This is the energy of sacred maintenance, scheduling therapy and doctor's appointments, doing the dishes, weeding the garden, nothing fancy, just the essential tasks that make up the fabric of our lives, because not every day can be a performance, right? However, Virgo energy, of course, also has a shadow side. It can become so focused on getting things right that it never begins. The detail-oriented mind can turn into procrastination, these thoughts of like, if it can't be perfect and flawless, then what's the point? And the inner critic can just be really loud. So the shadow side of Virgo to be aware of is that self-improvement sometimes can morph into that sense of perfectionism and self-criticism. And so I'd really like to offer us this mantra for both this Leo new moon and really all of Virgo season, which is that anything worth doing is worth doing imperfectly. Anything worth doing is worth doing imperfectly. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting to be ready. The right time is now, and the universe will be ready when you are. As the mutable earth sign, Virgo adapts through practicality. It wants systems that work and routines that support well-being. So it carries this subtle, like, let me fix it energy, often stepping in before others even ask, which we could argue is what a perfect servant does. But this could be empowering. It also could be very isolating and depleting. So let's reflect. Where am I being overly perfectionistic and self-sabotaging? And what small daily habit could I implement starting this week to better support my overall well-being? Virgo teaches us that humility is a form of quiet strength. You don't have to be flawless to be worthy. You can always refine and improve as you go, but you just have to begin. All right, you guys, finally, let's discuss the shift of the lunar nodes. So as I mentioned before, the lunar nodes have recently shifted from Pisces and Virgo into Aquarius and Leo. The lunar nodes are mathematical points, so they're not actually planets or planetary bodies, but they're angles. And so when you hear north node, south node, this is what's being referred to, the lunar nodes. And as I mentioned, this new moon is conjunct the south node in Leo. The south node are those lessons that we're moving away from, and the north node represent the lessons and the energy that we're moving toward. So we're now exiting an 18-month or so cycle of Pisces and Virgo themes and entering into themes of the Leo-Aquarius axis, which will be coming up during solar eclipses over the next nearly 2 years. Leo and Aquarius is the axis of authenticity and belonging. Heart plus smart. It asks a bold question. How do you shine as an individual while still belonging to and advocating for a larger group? If Leo wants the spotlight, then Aquarius wants the revolution. As I mentioned, Leo represents sacred visibility, pride, and creative self-expression, the courage to take up space and say, this is who I am. At its highest vibration, Leo is the ultimate hype man, generous, loyal, and just genuinely wants to celebrate your brilliance as fiercely as its own. But when that validation feels scarce, Leo can overperform, seeking applause to quiet insecurity, and pride can harden and stand in the way of true connection. The lesson for Leo is that confidence doesn't come from constant praise. It's rooted in self-worth. And then across the wheel, Aquarius is a visionary air sign, ruled by the contradicting energies of Uranus and Saturn. This energy questions norms but loves structure, disrupts outdated systems, and creates more equitable new ones, and imagines better futures for the collective at the necessary expense of certain individuals. Aquarius thrives in community, but hates being boxed in by labels. So for the past year and a half or so, we've been dealing with eclipses in Pisces and Virgo. So you may have had revelations and lessons coming up in those areas of your chart. But moving forward for the next year and a half, starting with this lunation, the areas of your chart that are ruled by Leo and Aquarius will be experiencing lessons and potent change. And since these are both fixed signs, that change may feel more sudden and intense. If you don't know your chart, there are a lot of websites and apps where you can pull it for free. Or if you want to dive deep, then you can schedule a reading with me, of course. The Leo-Aquarius axis invites us to honor authentic personal expression, Leo, while contributing to collective liberation, Aquarius. Sometimes that means speaking up, but other times it means sitting back and letting someone else speak their truth. Can you hold both pride and progress? Authenticity without community becomes toxic hyper-individualism, or even narcissism. But a community without diversity of unique self-expression becomes a cult. That toxic conformity also is not good. So healing isn't about choosing between the ego or rebelling against the crowd. It's about shining in a way that helps others see themselves and building a world where everyone gets to glow. The magic, as always, lies in the middle, a courageous and intentional contribution to culture and humanity. The Leo-Aquarius axis integrates individuality and belonging. Leo without Aquarius becomes a self-centered performance. Aquarius without Leo becomes an abstract ideology disconnected from the heart of humanity. If Leo says, "This is who I am," Aquarius asks, okay, but how does that serve the future? If Leo is the heart, then Aquarius is the rational mind. So reflect, where is Leo in your chart and where is Aquarius? The houses being illuminated for you right now will give you some helpful context. You are not here to shrink. You're not here to disappear into the crowd, and you're also not here to be overbearing, but you're here to glow in a way that makes space for others to glow too. Virgo energy is coming in to encourage us to be consistent. Our efforts will pay off. Leo ignites inspiration. Aquarius elevates it to a high ethical standard, and Virgo integrates it into a daily routine. You can have the biggest, boldest Leo new moon intentions in the world, but if they don't get grounded into a daily practice, they'll just burn out and dissolve. Expression without embodiment is just a performance. So it's important to bring in that daily, unflashy, unglamorous, small task, daily integration, right? Practicing what we preach. Yes, shine. Yes, improve, of course, but not from a place of shame or insecurity, from a place of love and devotion. All right, you guys, go ahead and pause and go grab your journal and a pen to write down today's reflection journaling prompts. Where am I relying too much on external validation? And how can I instead offer that validation to myself? Where am I being overly perfectionistic, having unrealistic expectations of myself and others, and self-sabotaging? And what small daily habit could I implement in order to better support my overall well-being? Finally, where is Leo, Virgo, and Aquarius in your chart? And do you have any planets there? Take some time to journal on these questions and reflect on where more love and tenderness can be brought in and harsh old stories can be released. To summarize, today we explored the astrological significance of the new moon and total solar eclipse in Leo, conjunct the South Node also in Leo. We unpacked the karmic lessons that this current astrological weather is giving us the opportunity to work through, just in time to shift into Virgo season, which brings the medicine of imperfect, devoted action without attachment to the results. And we discussed the recent shift of the lunar nodes into the ego-death axis of Leo and Aquarius, setting the stage for the next 18 months of solar eclipses. If you'd like to book a personal astrology reading with me, you can do so on my website at yourloved.one/readings, and I'd be honored to dive into your chart and see how the astrology for the rest of this year is affecting you personally. Join our online community for just $11 per month to access exclusive yoga and meditation practices guided by yours truly, over 10 hours of video workshops, including a deep dive into astrology, and meet like-minded queer folks who are also on a yogic path and spiritual journey. That link will be in the show notes for you guys as well. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, let's stay connected and stay witchy. I'll talk to you soon, and blessed be. With all my love, Lee Davy.